He was a likable guy. Bundy was an attractive, college-educated and charismatic man. Described by many as very likable with a good sense of humor. Bundy had a large amount of female supporters while on trial. While studying psychology at the University of Washington, he took a job at Seattle's Suicide Hotline Crisis Center, where he met and worked with Ann Rule, a former Seattle police officer and the author of The Stranger Beside Me, one of the Bundy biographies. Bundy used his charm to lure victims. He would often wear an arm sling or be on crutches with his leg in a fake cast. He'd use this fake disability, often dropping books or other items, in an attempt to get unsuspecting women to help him to his car. Once at his car, he'd use a crowbar, a metal pole or tire iron to knock the victim unconscious. (1986) Volkswagen Beetle, one of the most infamous cars in history. Bundy used this car to kidnap most of his victims. The front seat and door handle were removed to prevent the victim from being seen or escaping. It's currently on display at the Alcatraz East Crime Museum. When Ted was caught the first time, police found a crowbar behind the driver's seat, a box of large green plastic garbage bags, an ice pick, a flashlight, a pair of gloves, torn strips of sheeting, a knit ski mask, a pair of handcuffs, a coil of rope, and a strange mask made from pantyhose. Police originally thought the tools were used in a string of burglaries around the area. Police compared the things found in Bundy's car to those Carol Darinch described seeing in her attacker's car. After picking Bundy out in a lineup, police felt they had enough evidence to charge Bundy with kidnapping. They also felt they may have the person responsible for the murder spree that had gone on for more than a year. Ghost Adventures' Zach Bagans is said to have purchased the murder kit to display in his haunted museum in Las Vegas. Bundy confessed to 30 murders, but experts estimate it could more than 100. It has been reported that Bundy had a preference for women with long dark hair parted down the middle, which all shared a resemblance to his first love, Diane Edwards, who had dumped him. There were also similarities in the ways that the girls were murdered. All of his victims were either bludgeoned to death with a blunt object or strangled. Bundy confessed to revisiting crime scenes, often several times, to lie with his victims and perform sexual acts with their decomposing bodies until putrefaction forced him to stop. Sometimes he'd drive for several hours each way, often staying the entire night with his victims' remains. Bundy was known to have used a hacksaw to decapitate at least 12 of his victims. He took many of them to his apartment, where he had them on display as trophies. He would often wash their hair, do their makeup, then take pictures of them modeled in provocative poses. He would also engage in sexual acts with them. If you've got time, they can be anything you want them to be. After a traffic stop had put Bundy behind bars, he went on trial for the kidnapping of Carol Darinch, was sentenced to 15 years. He then went on trial for the Colorado murders. He was serving as his own lawyer, which gave him the chance to move freely around the law library. He escaped by jumping out of the second-story window and was caught a week later. His second escape was a little more complex. He began to carve away at an opening in the ceiling meant for a light fixture, and after losing some weight, he was able to climb through into the ventilation ducts, dropping into a guard's apartment, and escaped wearing the guard's clothes. He was put on the FBI's most wanted list. He went on to kill 2 sorority house members and severely injured 2 more. On February 9, 1978, Bundy killed again, this time 12-year-old Kimberly Leach. Bundy's final act on the run was a high-speed chase in Pensacola, Florida, in a stolen vehicle. Ted Bundy was executed via the electric chair at Florida State Prison on January 24, 1989, and pronounced dead at 7:16 a.m. He was 42 years old. When asked if he had any last words, he said, "Jim and Fred, I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends."
You